What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Hopefully you had a good weekend this past weekend. I had a lot of fun, actually. I played quite a bit of Xenoblade, and I gotta tell you guys, I am really liking this game, although I do kind of fall more on the side of a fan of the JRPGs than not being a fan, so while my perspective right now might be a little skewed because of that, when I do finish it, I will go back and give an unbiased review and kind of talk about some of the good things and the bad things on that game. Keep in mind today, guys, just a reminder before we get started, we do have the Mega Man 30th anniversary stream, the thing we've all been looking forward to, at least I have. We talked about it on Spawncast on Saturday night. It's coming up. It's 2 p.m. Eastern time. If you're subscribed and notifications onto this channel, you will be notified about 15 to 20 minutes before it goes live because I will be streaming it and you guys can come watch it with me. And I'm crossing my fingers and hoping we get something that's good for Mega Man, right? Something interesting, something fun. Hopefully, I'm hoping personally either a new Mega Man X game or maybe they revive Mega Man Legends 3. But there, of course, is always a chance of letdown, so I guess we should go in with tempered expectations. Now, there's some very fun stuff, very interesting stuff that happened over the weekend here, including a look at a possible release this week for WWE 2K18 on the Switch, a stealth release. So let's get started. Now, over the weekend, it was very odd because Wal-Mart posted that you could pre-order WWE 2K18 on the Nintendo Switch. You could pre-order it and it was $40 instead of $60. So they are discounting this game before it even comes out. This is, by the way, one of the weirdest launches on a system I think I've ever seen. It's odd how much of a question mark this game is. Technically, it's already out on the PS4 and the Xbox One and even the PC at this point, right? But it's not on the Switch at all yet, and it kind of has fallen now into December at this point, which is very strange because it seemed like it was supposed to be coming out sometime in November, because according to Take-Two and 2K, it was going to arrive about a month late. Looks like it's going to be like a month and a half late. And here's the thing. Walmart posts this. It's $40. You could pre-order. I did, by the way. I pre-ordered, and then yesterday morning, very strange, they send me a confirmation and they send an updated time. Now, before it was set for either December 31st or it was set for January 6th, depending on which, like Walmart, because there's like different types of Walmart sites that you order from and when it's releasing in different countries and everything. But then they come back with a new date. They have now updated that, and it's on their website as well, to December 6th. That's right, guys, Wednesday, 2 days from now. Apparently I can either go pick it up in store or they'll ship it to me. I'm choosing to go pick it up in the store because I want to get it as soon as it releases just to see what's going on. And I'm hoping that's the actual release date. Now, Walmart has been known to put place marker dates all over the place, but why would you set a place marker date for Wednesday? Actively change it from December 31st up to December 6th. So I'm hoping today we get some kind of announcement from WWE Games or 2K or Take-Two on Twitter, on their website, something. I hope they don't announce it on Tuesday and then release it Wednesday. Hopefully at least give us like a day buffer, right? Or maybe that's just a wrong date and Walmart is for some reason jumping the date up. I don't know. We already know that retailers had the game, or even they have the game now. It's just, I hope there's a statement, because this is one of the strangest releases, or at least lead up to a release I've ever seen. Also, with all the confusion, I'm kind of interested to see how many people actually want the game now, because it seems like we've already seen how much of a broken game it was on the other systems when it came out, and now they're moving it to the Switch, which has a little more of a complexity to it since they have to work for handheld mode and docked mode. So this could be kind of bad now that I think about it. It could be even more broken, or, well, just as broken. It's technically not a good game on the other systems, so we'll see what happens with the Switch, apparently. Next up, let's talk about Zelda Breath of the Wild. Specifically, this DLC pack that we're supposed to be seeing and still apparently releasing in December. Now, there is a lot of speculation as to when we will see it. Will it be at the VGAs, the Video Game Awards? It's coming up Thursday, I believe. It's coming up Thursday. It's going to be live streaming, and they have set for a ton of live reveals. Another one we'll talk about here a little later on in the show. But here's the thing. We don't know much about it. We've seen some speculation as to where this is going to go. As far as we know, it's going to continue the story. So here we are now, and we get this interesting press release going out that there's going to be a Zelda event, a stream Zelda event on their service, well, that Nintendo was kind of invested in, Nico Nico, and it's going to be set for a really Japanese standard time. Now, this event is scheduled, it's a Japanese broadcast, scheduled for December 12th, 9 p.m. Japan time, and that's 1 p.m. Central, noon in the UK, 4 a.m. Pacific, or 7 a.m. Eastern time here. So it's going to be at a very odd time for places like the US, like prime time for Japan, and it's going to take place on Nico Nico, something that's not easily accessible to us. So while I don't believe this is where they're going to show off the DLC in full, they could show off some of it. And keep in mind, this December 12th is actually after the Video Game Awards show, so it might not be the unveiling, but it could be more of a preview, a better look at this as we lead up to the release. And they haven't really named it. It's just a Zelda streamed event, so it absolutely could be the DLC. They don't want to name it yet, because if we're going to see it at the Video Game Awards this week, that would be really the unveiling trailer, and then maybe this would be something for the Japanese audience to really go into it a little further, a little more depth, right? Just showing off different things about it, and then maybe they'll do some fun things for, I guess, just Zelda in general, just the lore. So we'll keep an eye on it. But I would, at this point, for really the US audience and maybe the rest of the world at this point, look towards that Video Game Awards show, because I'm almost positive that's where we're going to see something. They had a big presence last year. They actually gave away tickets this year on their Twitter. They had a whole contest for it. So it seems like Nintendo's at least invested in this VGA show, and I think that's where we're going to see Zelda DLC, the big story pack. Next up, let's talk about Falcom, because they had an interesting interview with MVC Magazine where they talked a little bit about the Nintendo Switch's success. Now, you may have heard of Falcom because, well, you may play games like Ys, for example, or Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel. That's been a very popular series. I actually see it pop up on Steam, and I've been following that series for a little while now, and I think it would do really well on the Switch. However, the Falcom president seems kind of wary of Nintendo's latest platform. And again, in this interview, he said, traditionally, Neon Falcom's always been a PC developer that doesn't really create games for the casual market, but for the really hardcore gamers. Where is that market today? The answer to that is PS4. The Switch is very successful right now, but there's still no positive guarantee that the fan base that would play Falcom games are on the Switch yet. It's always been very important to look and see where our users are, so while we thought of it was more than likely that many of our fans actually owned a 3DS, one of the trends of PC users is that they prefer gadgets and machines with higher spec, which is obviously something that Sony was offering. So after a really careful consideration of both sides, we decided it was more than likely that the people who wanted to play the types of games that we made would want to play them on a PlayStation platform. And this is a very interesting statement here. He seems to think that because people on the PlayStation side are more interested, along with PC, are more interested in, I guess, higher specs. You know, it's beefier hardware, essentially. So to him, they're more interested in the hardcore Japanese RPG market, although I think he might be off here. I do. First of all, they're putting stuff on the Vita, which is significantly less powerful than the Switch at this point. The Switch pretty much trounces the Vita fairly easily, right? And here they are putting stuff on the Vita. I think they put stuff on the Vita because they've basically gone over to Sony and said, listen, you hold the market share heavily in Japan, in the rest of the world. We want to go where the numbers are. In fact, I'd prefer he just said that. Now, the Switch is coming up on the halfway mark for the PlayStation 4 in Japan already. And I do think right now Falcom has to be kind of careful. It's not easy to sell a very hardcore JRPG series like Ys or Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel and everything. It's not easy to sell those games to a large audience. So they have to be careful where they're developing their games for at this time. Now, I do think the Vita, being an ARM chipset, would probably be able to port over to the Switch fairly easily. I don't know how easy it would have been to port from the PS4 to the Switch in their situation, but it's not a super taxing game when you play it. Like, you can play it on most computer builds that don't even have video cards half the time. I think HD graphics plays it most times, Trails of Cold Steel. So I'm not really sure what he's trying to say here. Really, again, just say, listen, we're not sure about the Switch user base yet. He kind of says that, but then he says that the reason they're with the PS4 is because it's more powerful. No, the reason they're with the PS4 is because there's more PS4s out there. That's all you have to say. They're still going up on 10 million Switch units, and I think when they cross into their second year, then Falcom will probably start looking at the Switch a little further. But I do think people on the Switch will buy something like the Trails of Cold Steel series. People would buy into that. It's a good RPG. It is. A lot of people love that game on Steam. I'm curious where you guys fall on this one. Do you think something like the Ys series, or do you think something like Trails of Cold Steel would do well on the Switch, or do you think they should wait a little longer for that audience to build up? Because in their mind, if we put our game on something that has 60, 70 million people like the PS4, we're bound to get a % or two and make our money back fairly easily. Next up, let's talk about another big announcement that we're looking to the Video Game Awards show this Thursday to show us, and that is Sea of Thieves. Now, you've probably been hearing about this game a lot. I know I have. I tried to get an alpha, but it was a whole thing, and I couldn't. It didn't seem to want to find that my computer had the insider program. It was this whole thing. Anyway, there are people on either side. There's some people that really like the look of it, and there are some people that just think it looks terrible. I want to play it before I say which way, which side of the fence I'm on. So I'll have to wait, I guess, there's another alpha this month, I guess I'll try to get into. But according to a tweet, we can look towards the Video Game Awards show to find out its release date. And in a tweet, one of the people working on Sea of Thieves said this: "Not only Sea of Thieves news coming at the Game Awards, but possibly the best confused creature cameo of all time. Get your GIF game ready. 5 more sleeps." Now, the second part, I'm not really sure what they're talking about, a confused creature cameo. We'll have to see what they're talking about there. But I think the big news is that we will finally get a release date after alpha and beta and all these community testing phases. I think we'll finally know when we can actually load this up, buy it, and play it. And will it be good? Well, that's kind of what we'll find out then. I don't want to say one way or the other, like I said, until I play it. And I think I encourage a lot of other people to at least try it before we jump on it, because it's an odd looking game, but I'll at least give Rare the benefit of the doubt until I try it, and if it's bad, then I'll say, yeah, it's bad. But you know what? We'll see what we get here. Just look towards the Video Game Awards for what I assume to be a lengthy trailer, and then hopefully, the big date being smashed up on the screen for us. And in our last bit of news, we're going to close out with EA, because they cannot seem to stay out of the headlines. Now, they had their UFC 3 beta that ends later on tonight, actually. Right at midnight Pacific time, I believe it ends. And here's the thing. It did not get praised well at all. In fact, it went about the same as Battlefront 2's beta. Remember what happened then? Everyone saw what they were building. It was this loot crate type game where everything's tied into progression with loot crates. Well, guess what? That's how UFC 3 is, and apparently it's worse. That's right. The way it works is you actually get loot crates in a UFC game, by the way. What is that? You get loot boxes in a UFC game. You open them, and then you get different cards and all this stuff, and it builds up things like your jab. Like, seriously, just throwing a punch is weighed in on by loot boxes. And apparently, from what a lot of people are saying, you can walk in with a bunch of money, and you're just better than everybody, basically, because you'll get all these cool little things. You'll improve things like your jabs, your kicks, your grappling, and then all of a sudden, you're a beast in the octagon by just giving them a couple $100s. So, yes, I have a feeling this was it was in development for a while. It's not like they just snapped their fingers and said, put loot boxes in. The fact that it's tied so tightly into progression, I have a feeling it was there in development alongside something like Battlefront 2 when they made that decision. So they both just got it. That's the way it was. They're tied in heavily to progression. So yeah, expect UFC to, well, it'll still sell because honestly the community won't be vocal enough. It's not large enough. It's not Star Wars. But I think it's gonna get the same fate as Need for Speed, where sales aren't going to be good, and it's going to get bad reviews because of loot box progression systems. So EA, hopefully next year you've learned your lesson, and those will be taken out of things like Need for Speed. They'll be taken out of UFC. How in the world did they get loot boxes into UFC? It makes no sense to me, but maybe next year they'll fix it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for Newswave today. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the news today or just like getting it, because I like doing this every morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm here during the weekday for you guys, and on the weekend we have some fun, do some other things. I even opened up that Xenoblade controller, which, by the way, between you and me, I was looking for a reason to buy it anyway, so I'm glad somebody said the D-pad might be better because I just wanted the Pro Controller. So let me know what you guys think about any of this stuff we talked about today. Do you think WWE is out? I mean, do you think 2K18 is out on the Switch on Wednesday out of nowhere? It's very odd that we would just randomly get an announcement, but maybe it is. And then also let me know what you think about Sea of Thieves or even UFC with the loot box progression. Guys, I'll see you later on today for the Mega Man stream. Here's hoping, new Mega Man X. I'll see you guys then.